Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Champ We Are United podcast, episode 98.
Woohoo! Yes,
Yay!
98. Wow.
98! Wow, nearly at the 100, but more on that later. So it's the number one British comic podcast, and you're very welcome if you've just started listening to us or you've been with us since the start. Mute button Matt's waving, which is normally what Bygone Berrigan does. But anyway,
It's
hello
no
everyone.
copyright on waving.
I know. Hello everyone. Yes,
Yes.
nice to have you listening. So let's do the intros and the running order. First of all, I am going to introduce. Oh yes, I'm really looking forward to this tonight. His section is nothing at all. Hurrah! It's Paul Tangent Richardson. How are you, Paul?
Yes. Yes. Thank God. I'm very well and looking forward to the break. Thank you very much, Gull. I'm pleased that you're looking forward to my silence.
I have had some letters in. Dear Gull, can we have a break from Paul Tangent Richardson? He doesn't have to go on. Lots of love, Gull. There's an old joke there for the old listeners that have been listening since about episode 54. Next up, what? What do you say?
I said I think they're all old.
Yeah.
All right, steady. I'm not. I'm 22.
Okay.
Yes. So we'll begin with mute button Matt. Good evening, Matt. How are you? And well, we know what you're doing to begin with, but tell us anyway.
Yeah. Hi, Go. Yeah, it's great to have you back, by the way, and good to be here with everybody else. Well, Simmo's here. I know I'm not letting the cat out of the bag, but Simmo's here as well for the show, and it's looking forward to today's show.
And you're doing, first of all?
Oh, okay. We're going to do the running order this way. Okay. Yeah. So, well, I'll be doing the social media feedback in a bit, and then
I'll come back to you in a second. I see. I've come back and I've put the cat amongst the pigeons, haven't I? Next up, hello,
Charlie the cat or Peter the cat.
I know it's already been sport, but hello, Simmo. How are you this evening, and what are you doing tonight?
Hi, Go. Hi, everybody. I'm not too bad. It's good to have you back. You obviously blown the holiday budget, so you need to come into work.
Yeah,
I'm still on with the We Are United story, and this week we're up to issue number 3.
Excellent. And I'll have to say it's great to have you back, and your sections have been wonderful so far.
Yeah, I'll send the royalties on later.
No worries. You might want to not send them because I'm about to say I did say that they've been great so far, but they'll probably be crap tonight. So
that's fair enough. Law of averages.
I'm only kidding. Okay, and then it will be back to mute once again. Oh, I haven't forgotten you, Bygone. Don't worry. Back to mute once again. What are you doing after Simmo's done his bit? It's going well, isn't it?
I'm talking about the 100th episode. Is that what you want me to say now? I can't remember.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm doing the 100th episode then. Because as listeners know, we're coming up to the 100th episode because obviously we're 98 today. 98. And so just a reminder, because we really, really do want to hear from you listeners out there. We want to have your voice notes coming into us so we can play you out on the show. So I'll cover that when we get to it.
We really want to see those fingers. Then we'll move on to Neil Bygone Berrigan, or is it Bygone Brisbane? Or is it Brisbane Berrigan? I don't know. It's all too much for me, to be honest. Good evening, Neil, and what are you doing tonight?
Good evening. I'm doing the story Divided City, the football picture story monthly number 19, and it's the first in a series of stories that features Kline and Powell. So I'm going to be reviewing that tonight and talking through the story.
Excellent.
Sorry, up our game after the last few episodes with Tangent Paul explaining the Roy the Rovers story. So hopefully I can make it just as dramatic as he did. I've been practicing.
I was just going to say, trust a Brinsden to be doing a feature of a divided city. If anybody can divide a city, it's old Brinsden.
Yeah. And Brinsden, if you ever come on and I've got a black wig on, I'm Brinsden.
I'm disappointed you haven't.
Yeah.
If you do, tell us where you got it. Me and Paul could use one.
If you are watching on YouTube, you'll appreciate this moment. But Bygone, would you mind just holding up what you're going to be reading from again?
Wait now. Oh, you can't see it.
There you go. No, down a bit.
There we go.
Yeah, that's it. Well,
down a bit. Down a bit.
Now you see it. Now you don't.
No. I. All of that for that joke. I'll get.
Wow.
He is back. He's back with a vengeance.
Oh yeah. All right. Yeah, and then we'll finish off with back. Hey, Mute, you've got a lot to do tonight. We'll finish off with Mute button that once again. And what are you ending up with?
Well, I am going to end up with a bit of Jack and Jimmy. Just what you want at the end of a 3-hour show. Jack and Jimmy. The famous Jack of United and Jimmy of City.
No. It won't be a 3-hour show because Tangent hasn't got a section. We've already covered.
That's true. It'll be like 10 minutes. Excellent.
And then we'll finish off with the socials and the goodbyes. And of course, I'm your host this evening. I am Gull.
Who are you? Oh, yeah.
I am Gull, I just said. And I will be your host this evening, as you may have noticed. So, shall we begin? Now let's get down to work. Well, we do work hard here in Champ Towers, I'll shut up now. Over to you.
They can tell.
That... Oh, Simmo.
Here we go. Okay. So, social media feedback. So, first of all, we always start with the Weather Rovers Comic 40 Years On Facebook group. And there might be a few theme tunes that are needed, Goal, so I hope you've been gargling. The Melster.
No. Oh,
quick, you're on.
Trevor Melvin?
Trevor Melvin.
Whoa, it's Melvin's Musings.
Brilliant. You know what? I didn't think it could, but I think it's got better. Brilliant.
Well, I've had a break, haven't I?
Yeah. So here we go. Right. So the headline is Tangent Paul takes centre stage as Champ Towers becomes the theatre of football comic dreams. With Goal thought to be performing in Panto alongside Dorothy Cotton's son, Nasty Nick, at the Princess Theatre, Torquay. Oh, no, he isn't. Oh, yes, he is.
Oh, no, I'm not.
Mute button that once more stepped into the breach, dear friends of the show, to lead out the Champ We Are United podcast ensemble for the 97th episode, which at times reached dizzying Shakespearean heights. The play was dominated by Tangent Paul, who completed his Melchester Rovers 84-85 season review of the commentary on the Cup Winners' Cup final grudge match with the Spanish side Real Santana, not to be confused with Very Santana, the Carlos Santana tribute act. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely something there with Real Santana, Carlos Pilar as well, Carlos Santana. Yeah. The tangential one didn't disappoint, as he brought every kick of the epic European clash vividly and dramatically to life. And he's very humble, as you can tell. He's like prances around his room like some sort of champion. Shades of Billy's boots, perhaps, but at times the tangential one seemed completely possessed by the spirit of John Motson. Indeed, within the inner sanctum of the comic book fraternity, it's rumoured that whilst no performance-enhancing substances were detected, when the curtain came down, a full exorcism did in fact take place, which involved an ice bath and Tangent's sheepskin coat being surgically removed. If the ghost of if the ghost of Motti had manifested itself within the tangential one, then Simmo was perhaps under the spell of Charlie Ironbar. The voice of reason refused to be beaten. Despite being bedeviled by technical issues, nope, he wasn't kidnapped Roy Rice style prior to the show. The podcast resident VOR official was determined that the show must go on and resourcefully phoned in the second part of his brilliant We Are United Origins Odyssey, which he delivered with all the quiet authority of a Joe Pearson team talk. Respect.
Wonderful.
You couldn't write this script. Take a bow, team. Brilliant stuff. Thank you very much, Trevor.
Wonderful musings. Wonderful musings.
Wonderful musings. Moving on, we have Adrian Lord.
Everybody in the house, Lord. Everybody in the house, Lord. One house, one Lord. Everybody in the house of Lord.
Oh, it's the best one. I think it's the best theme tune. I don't know. Anyway, we'll see. We've got some others coming.
More to come. You might want to take a nap, listeners.
I've turned off. So here we go. Finally, it goes. Finally, the longest running cup run in history is over. Well done, Paul. Brilliant stuff. Yeah, I think you spoke for us all there, Adrian. Thank you. Then we've got something here from Tony Hamilton. He says, a timely win for Rovers just before English clubs were banned from Europe for 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prescience from the writers. Yeah, indeed. It was, wasn't it? It was just after Heysel, wasn't it? In real life, wasn't it? Obviously.
That's
85.
right. Yeah.
We have feedback here from Hamish Witter.
Hey.
Hey, it's Witter from Twitter. Now X.
Okay.
I'll do it again.
I just realised that was no X at the end.
Definitely don't do it again.
And back to Matt in the studio.
Anyway, maybe we should rehearse this stuff beforehand. Some of it. I don't know. Brilliant stuff. Excellent stuff. Thanks, Gold. Hamish goes, is Paul okay? I think that's the best feedback we've ever had. Just leave it there. Is Paul okay? He said, I needed to lie down after, and I was only listening. I don't know. I mean, we could spend another 6-hour podcast answering that question. Is Paul okay?
Yeah, it depends on what level you're talking about. I think we should move on, but appreciate the concern.
Could go off in all sorts of tangents, couldn't it?
Couldn't it just?
Brilliant. So moving on to the Champ We Are United Facebook site, we have feedback from George Prince.
George Prince. Okay. Prince talking. His feedback is nothing to be scared of.
Oh, that's brilliant. That is superb. That is, brilliant. George goes, another great episode. I'm one of Goal's 3 fans. Yeah, it's more than that. I do apologise for that, Goal. You haven't mentioned that to me.
It's funny. I was just about to say I didn't think there was as many as that.
I'll tell you what. Just because we said you can't have any more sections this week. You've been really Mr. Nasty, aren't you, this week? Paul, tangent. Just be nice, all right? Just be nice.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
it. Otherwise, we'll take your tangent nickname away from you. You'll just be Paul Boring Richardson.
And we'll hide his sheepskin coat.
No, not the sheepskin.
So George continues, another great episode. I'm one of Goal's 3 fans. When Adrian Lord's comment was read, I started singing to myself, everybody in the House of Lord. I laughed
when I read that. That's brilliant.
That's brilliant, yeah. I laughed at the guy whose wife told him to grow up. I loved your New Year's resolutions. Read more comics rather than spend more time with the wife and kids. Great Cup Winners' Cup finale. Got a huge smile on my face, which is what it's all about. Keep up the good work, guys. Brilliant stuff. Thank you, George. Excellent stuff. Yeah. There's a guy here, Brett Mayer, says, I'm one of Goal's 3 fans as well. So we probably know all of them.
We need to find out who that Brett Mayer is, because some of his comments really, we need to, you're an admin. I think you need to start being a proper admin on the sites.
You know what? I sent a Facebook request to be his friend and I'm still waiting for a reply. Probably upset him some way.
You're probably not missing out.
John Evans.
Hey.
He's finally caught up.
Yes, amazing.
All listeners, this is the whole reason we run the podcast. It's not to talk about comics. It's just to talk about John listening to all the episodes. He's finally caught up. Brilliant, John. He goes, and to think I was told I'd never achieve anything when I was at school. I loved Paul's account of the final. Remember feeling like that when I read the original all those years ago. Keep up the great work, chaps. So brilliant. So thank you very much, John. And shout out to Mrs. Evans as well. Remember, we're the sad old bastards.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't plan a theme tune for Mr. Evans. Does it say where he's from?
No, it doesn't. No. We're working on that.
All right, I'll just improvise. Okay, here we go. Oh, Evans is a fan on the pod.
That's good. That's good. You know what?
Very like good.
Because it keeps the 80s theme in.
I don't think he's from Carlisle.
Oh, very good.
Oh, dude, that's the funniest thing you've ever done on there, Cole. Brilliant.
I think I'll
Okay,
have another couple of weeks off.
no, don't. We love you on the show. Ian Golden, friend of the show. No theme tune though. So
Golden
don't.
Brown,
Oh yeah,
friend
okay, all
of
right,
the
okay.
show.
Ian also talks about the fact that this was actually this was interesting as well because the final was actually set in Brussels as well. So
That's
it's
right.
another
Yeah.
link to what was tragically happening, obviously, in that year. As he said there, and sadly, we all know what happened at that ground in real life that year. And he said, "Was a European band ever touched on in Roy the Rovers in later years?" And yeah, it was touched upon, wasn't it? They didn't really cover it in detail, but it was.
Sorry to be pedantic, but just one thing on that, and I'm not in the comic on the Cup Winners' Cup final. It just said the final was in Brussels. It didn't actually mention the actual stadium name, so
no,
I'm sure there must be another stadium there. So
there could have been.
Yeah.
And finally, from YouTube, we have from our friend Nikos. He goes 40 years on from that Rovers final. He says he will soon make an entry about it in the Greek Roy the Rovers fan club. So look forward to seeing that, Nikos. And there's somebody here called Grey Simmo 5399. Don't know who he is. Luckily,
I bet he's a friend of Brett Mayer.
Luckily, the shockingly bad dialing from Voice of Reason isn't on here. It sounded like a cross between AI and a Wooden EastEnders extra.
Oh.
And have Tangent's vitals gone back to normal yet?
Extra.
I couldn't disagree more with that listener. Sorry, I thought it was atmospheric and dramatic.
Very, very dramatic.
If you knew him, you'd realise he talks a load of bollocks. So
I thought we put the swear jar away for bollocks' sake.
Oh god. Anyway, so that's it. That's the end of the feedback. Oh, is that it? That's 2 hours. That's 2 hours.
Go on.
There you go.
Well, good night. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you everybody for your feedback. It is greatly appreciated. We love that other people enjoy what we do. So thank you for letting us know.
I'm glad other people do. Oh, it's me. Oh, hello. Hey, that's the second time I forgot I was hosting. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Thank you very much for that, Newbun. Really enjoyed that, and I'd like to concur what you said. No, is that the right word? Well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Thank you for everyone who sends in their feedback. It is so much appreciated, and we absolutely love what we do, and I'm glad that you all enjoy it. Okay, here we go then. Shall we move on to the first proper section of the night?
Yes,
sounds good.
Satellite delay there, no doubt. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Okay, I'm really enjoying this so far. He's doing himself proud. It's time for Simmo and We Are United Part 3. Over to you, Simmo. Looking forward to this.
Thank you, Gull. We're now up to issue number 3. United have just come off the back of a historic FA Cup victory over Aston Villa. And now it's back to the more mundane league action. We've got 2 games this week. Got Shelbridge away, and they've got Crystal Palace at home. Just out of interest, are you guys any thoughts on who those teams are based on?
Well, I think one of them might be pretty obvious. I'm going to stick my neck out and say that Crystal Palace might be Crystal Palace. Shelbridge obviously is an interesting one. It's funny because there are other teams that fall into this category. I mean, I would have, Chelsea and Stamford Bridge is what I would have gone for there. Chelsea.
I reckon it was Exeter City.
Not talking United.
And there it is.
Hey.
I was thinking, the Crystal Palace, the name bit's very obvious, isn't it? I mean, it's a dead giveaway. But if you actually read the history, I'm thinking there's maybe a bit of Wimbledon thrown in there,
Yeah.
But they're not being too far apart geographically either. I think it's a kind of it's a mix and match job there.
Yeah, the fact they're elected to the league. Fairly recently.
And the Shelbridge, I mean, it does mention the 50s there, and I think that at that point that was the only time when Chelsea had ever won the league. So I think there's definitely a hint towards that. Although we will find out next year that there is a better candidate for the Chelsea moniker.
Sorry, Simmo. I've just
Yes.
seen in there. I don't know if you're going to mention it, but in the Crystal Palace thing as well, it mentions and their defence bolstered by the ambitious signing of
Yes.
Melcheston United. Yeah,
Yeah. I
vastly
wonder who that could
experienced.
possibly mean.
Yeah, experienced central
That's a team
defender.
that we never see again. That's the only time they're
No,
ever mentioned.
yeah, so interesting. Such an interesting name, right?
Bob Greenock. I'm thinking that could be Jimmy Greenough,
Yeah, that's what I would have gone
possibly.
for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's where they're going with that. But yeah, Melchester
Greenock,
United
Greenock Morton.
was a player.
Yeah, I've decided that they're a player now.
So there's a guy playing
That's good
football
enough
called
for me.
Greenock Morton. Oh, they could well be. They could
Excellent
well
pass down the left-hand side of the pitch to Greenock Morton. What a score from him! Can I just say, before you carry on, Simmo, and I will shut up in a minute, you are sounding exceptional tonight.
What are you after?
Well, a fourth fan would be good.
Don't push it.
I was going to say, don't set your sights too high, Goal.
You know, you carry on like realistic. That. You'll have one here, Goal. Don't you worry.
Thank you very much. I'll send a check.
Yeah, what though? Aneurysm.
Fucking
right. Back to where we were. So they're starting off against Gelbridge, and it's going badly wrong straight away. They're the first shot they've conceded a goal straight away, and we've got a little bit of taste of real life to come. As in, we've got a fan here saying, "Blooming hopeless. These new kids Joe Pearson's put in are useless. 1-0 down already." Now that's not something that I tend to think was going on a great deal back then, but it does seem to fit the way things are these days, where 1 minute your manager's a genius and the next match they want to call for him to be sacked.
Yeah.
Obviously this guy's forgotten the miracle they pulled off the week before. But they're not having a good day. It's not going well, and we're introduced to another new player, George GG Green, who's having a bit of a mare, to be honest. He's not looking comfortable at all, and he's robbed for the ball in midfield. Gets a bit of an ear bashing from Terry Evans. Not like him to say anything, is it? He's usually one of the quiet guys who keeps it to himself. And unfortunately, it leads to another goal very quickly. So United rapidly 2-0 down and in big trouble now. Poor old Tug Wilson's pulling his hair out. He's trying to do the work of three men back there. It gets to half time, and the United reserves are playing an away game. Oh no, they're at home. Sorry, they're at home, and the scores just flashed up at half time. But United are 2-0 down, and reserve goalkeeper Brian Stokes actually looks to be quite pleased by it. He's set his sights on getting into the United team ahead of Bill Shenton. I think he's got ideas a little bit above his station here, but you can't fault the lad's ambition, can you?
No, definitely not.
Yeah, he seems to be quietly pleased that they're getting a bit of a tonk in at the minute. We rejoin it back at Chelbridge in the second half, and it's still not going well. They're really up against it here. Bill Shenton's had to pull off a wonder save, but poor old George Green, he's done his best to try and get back and help out. He's doing his bit, but unfortunately, he's managed to just knock the ball into the net himself. United have come off having been given a right hammer in 3-0, and Gigi's distraught. He's very upset with himself, blaming himself for the defeat. But Fred Rimmy, that top-notch character, has decided to try and take the pressure off him. It's not his fault, and he was no worse than the rest of us. Even Joe's a loss for words, though. He's like, well, there's no point discussing what's going on here. We'll leave it till Monday. We'll all get home and we'll pick it up again then.
Sorry to interrupt you,
yes,
Simmo,
yes,
but again, this is one of the things that I really love about the United, and we're still very early into the story, but we had the amazing result in the last episode in the cup, but straight away we are brought back down to earth with a big bump, and that's what I like. It wasn't just that as soon as Joe's got the reins, everything's rosy and United are just winning every week. So this really, I think, helped to add to the realism of the situation, right?
Oh, definitely. The realism is what drew me in as much as obviously there's going to be certain bits where miracle comebacks and bits and pieces like that, but they did tend to keep that to a minimum. So I think that's that's what drew me, and the depth of characters as well. Because I mean we're only 3 issues in, and they've like sold off half a team.
Yeah,
and we've got to the point when we've nearly been introduced to a full team. So
yeah,
it's
I
not
think it
like
helps.
just central.
It's given a lot of pages, though, isn't it? More than any other story in similar comics.
Yeah,
But I
that
was
certainly
noticing
helps.
the artists change as well, don't they? So like they've obviously had a lot of time to bring different artists to help, the story breathe and be this big. I think the artist, it's not a consistent artist all the way through. It changes, doesn't it?
Yeah, you can definitely spot a few differences as we go through. Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't upset the story though, does it? Sometimes if you change artists, I always thought Billy's Boots suffered sometimes when they changed the artist, but I think it's consistent all the way through. It's fantastic.
These had a similar style, didn't they? Pete Foster, Neville Wilson.
It's not too obvious where it's like a bit of a shock when you think, well, this just isn't the same anymore. I couldn't tell you, without actually going through and looking at it, where the different artists came into it and went back out, because the differences are, very subtle.
Sorry, just one last thing. I think one of the keys to that was, though, it does almost seem as if it was very well scripted, and if it was a different artist, but they got the whole of that comic, if you see what I mean. So the art, I don't remember. I could be wrong here, but I don't ever remember the artwork actually changing in an edition of Champ, if that makes
sure
sense.
It didn't. Yeah.
So, and I think certainly at the age I was, although I'm always trying to not give away actually just how old I was when I was first reading Champ. But I think that's the key to it.
Yeah.
30 actually, but yeah. But thanks for trying to help me out there, Matt.
Yeah, you might forget, getting on a bit now. You don't remember these things. All right, so where were we? Right, here we are. So there's a meeting between Joe and trainer Andy Bates, and Joe's come to the realization that they're struggling a bit, and these players that he's got aren't really ready. But he's really in his back's to the wall. He's got no choice, because the club, even with the sales, are still financially in trouble, and there's no way they can go out and just buy new players. So just going to have to grow up very quickly. By Monday morning, we see Joe talking to one of his customers. Joe's got a little sports shop as a sideline, which I think at the time was a lot more common than it is now. Obviously, the wages so much different that it wasn't the case of now you can play for a couple of seasons and retire and you never have to think about work again. So he has got a little bit of sideline going. And Andy Bates also has let Joe know that there is a possibility that there could be a new player coming along. I wonder who that could be. I bet it'll turn out to be rubbish. He'll not be any good. So some lad called Alex. Never heard of him.
No.
We'll see how that goes. I don't think he'd be any good,
sale.
to be fair. Well, yeah, he could be. Apparently, he's anti-establishment, so that's a possibility.
Hey, good shout.
So but Joe's doesn't sound overly keen. He's not really liking the idea of just bringing people in, here and there from nowhere. But like I say, I think he's in a situation where his back's against the wall. And Andy does inform him that he does believe the source. This guy Stan. He thinks that if he's recommending him, then the guy he must have something about him. So we join the dressing room, and Terry Evans is giving Brian Stokes a bit of grief because there's a new goalkeeper coming along for a trial. There's even some paper reports that Shenton could be quitting United. We'll have to wait and see on that one. I don't see that happening anytime soon. Terry is, he's really sticking the boot in. He's trying to wind Stokesy up as much as possible. We get to the training, and the new keeper's there. Young lad called John Clement, and Stokesy is asked by Joe if he can play outfield for training, just so that they can have a look at this guy in goal, which Stokesy's actually quite happy about. Thinks it'll be a lot easier, which makes him wonder why he wants to be a goalkeeper in the first place. If it's so much easier to be an outfield player, why on earth is he so intent on being a goalkeeper? But hey, what do we know? We're just fans. It does appear that Stokesy knows what he's doing as a defender. He's got that used to watching Terry Evans that when Terry gets the ball, he's preempting what he's going to do. And right enough, when Terry Evans puts in a cross, Stokesy's there waiting for it and gets it away. In fact, he's having a right good session. He's looking very, very tasty indeed. He's even getting his own back on Terry and dribbling his way out of defence, making him look a bit of a mug. So couldn't happen to a nicer guy. Just at this moment, we're the new player turns up. And I think it's safe to say that Joe wasn't quite expecting this guy. Not what he had in mind. And, this new guy is Alex Jones. And his fashion is definitely out there. There's no doubt about that. Loving the hair, by the way. He's, if only. Long of the day since I had that much hair.
Yeah, exactly.
You never had that much hair.
Never.
Wow, we've got the pictures to prove it.
Absolutely.
Says the other bald-headed guy.
Well, it's the pictures to prove that one day I had even more hair than that. Trust me, you wouldn't have believed it, Goal. But sorry, Simmo, go on.
Tangent's not bald. It's a solar panel for a sex machine, isn't it, Tangent?
No comment. But, never a truer word has been spoken.
So Alex goes off to get changed, and Joe is definitely not too keen on this idea. He's certainly having his doubts. And when Alex comes back out onto the pitch, the rest of the team are taking the mickey a bit. There's no way this guy's going to be any good. To be fair, he doesn't look like a footballer, let's face it. He soon makes a mug of Tug Wilson in the first head-to-head. So he's already shown that we're certainly not afraid of a challenge, that's for sure. There's not too many people who'd run at Tug.
No.
He's winning aerial balls. He's slamming shots in to the point where he's got Joe almost, in disbelief at his ability. It's like, where's this guy come from? How come we've never heard of him before? And he's just running rings around him. It's a very, very impressive trial. And we get to the end of the training session, and Joe having so few options, he's even considering putting Alex in for the very next match against Crystal Palace. Which,
may I ask a question? Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry
to interrupt. Forgive me. Is the trial at the Mill, or is it at the Little Mill training ground, or does it not say?
It looks like it's at the stadium because
it looks to me like it's at the Mill. Yeah,
I was going to say there's terraces and everything. It's not there's definitely. Yeah, it certainly looks to be at the ground. You can see the entrance, the players' tunnel and so on.
Of course,
so, yeah, I would certainly say so. Although I don't know how many teams would actually train on their pitch. I don't know if that was a much more common thing back then.
I think it was a bit more common back then, but even then, yeah, most of the time it would have been.
Oh, I just realised I just realised
I
something.
knew what he was lining up. It's so obvious. Go on, go. Get it out.
Well, I'm surprised I didn't recognise the ground, seeing it. I don't know if I've mentioned
Honestly,
this.
I
it gets
knew that this
painful.
was coming.
It's
Seriously.
painful.
I set myself up for that about 5 minutes ago. Come on,
This
lads.
is why.
Yeah, we knew where it was going. We knew. In fact, I think
Sometimes
if you look at that frame where he's actually dribbling through quite a few players, and you can see Joe, Stan, and Andy on the touchline, I would imagine that's probably somewhere in the area of the crowd where you were. Isn't that right, Gull? Would you like to elaborate
Yeah,
on that?
no, I agree. Just after he'd given me the scarf and come down, I'm looking forward to your episode 32, by the way.
Is there an episode 32?
we're
right.
skipping that one.
There was one where
I thought wasn't the one that got lost.
Yeah, there's a missing episode going to be, isn't there?
Yeah,
A bit like Dad's
Dad's
Army.
missing one. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was.
Carry on,
Never mind.
Simmo. What
It'll
was?
save us 2 hours, won't it? So, Joe's got it into his head that he's going to give Alex Jones a run out in the league game, and he also has a word with John Clement. He's quite impressed with him, and he offers him the chance to sign, which obviously John jumps at the chance because he's a United supporter, and it's a chance of a lifetime. This has kind of convinced Brian Stokes that by signing John, that it means he's going to get the promotion to the first team, and that Shenton must be on his way.
I found just as well. I found it interesting when Joe was talking about Alex that Andy Bates mentioned that he's been at other clubs, but he's been too hot to handle, right? Or other clubs have been interested.
Yeah, I think was it Lichfield. I think he came from. I think he'd had some time there at some point or other. But yeah, he's it's a sign of things to come with Alex. He does like to get himself into a spot of bother now and again.
He likes to get involved, shall we say, Simmo?
Oh yeah. It's never a dull moment with Alex, as we will soon see. So Joe goes back to his shop after training, and he has a sneaking suspicion that the member of staff there has been ripping him off. And when he challenges him, the guy quits, which more or less proves that Joe was right. So what he's going to do with his business now, and he's got nobody then there, I don't know. But maybe best make a good job of managing the team, haven't they, I suppose? So we get to Tuesday afternoon, with United playing on the Wednesday night. The team sheet's gone up. Brian Stokes is having a look down it, hoping he's going to be playing in goal for the firsts. And to his disappointment, he sees that Bill Shenton is still in goal. And when he checks the reserve team, he finds that John Clement has been put in goal. So he's devastated by this, and he goes rushing in to confront Joe, telling him that he's never let the team down and he wants a transfer. But Joe calms him down and points out that he maybe needs to take a little bit look down the team sheet a bit further, because Joe's actually listed him as a substitute for the first team, which Brian it's kind of just can't get his head around that. He's like, well, who's ever heard of a goalkeeper being substituted? So at this point, Joe breaks the news that he's actually was very impressed with him as a fullback, and he thinks he'd make a better player there than he would as a goalkeeper, and that he'll give him a run out at some point in the game. Which Brian thinks Joe's a bit crazy at this, but I'm sure he's happy that at least he's going to get some playing time. So we come on to Wednesday night, and the home match against Crystal Palace, and the fans are to get their first chance to have a look at Alex. And to be fair, I don't think they're that impressed themselves. They're accused Joe of really scraping the bottom of the barrel, and they're making fun of his hair, saying his hair will burst the ball. And it wasn't that good.
No, just visualising it. Just looking for the ball after a cross, and it's stuck on his spikes.
Oh dear. What it would be like to live in your world, Gull, eh?
Listen, I struggle living in my own world. Leave it alone.
Okay then. So Alex has a bit of a short fuse though, and he's like, "Oh, you bunch of loudmouths! They won't look so clever when I land one on him." So we've got a little first taste of the fiery temperament that Alex has got. Crystal Palace kick off, and straight away Alex is in there, and he takes the ball straight away, and he's making him look like amateurs. He's dribbled his way through, and nothing comes of it in the end. But it's enough that the Crystal Palace captain decides that he's seen enough, and he wants somebody to take care of Alex and do a bit of a job on him. But Alex, despite his inexperience and his youth, is a bit too clever for this minder that's been put on him, and he's making him look a bit of a mug, well and truly, taking him to the cleaners quite a few times. But as the game goes on, it becomes more and more apparent that Alex, for all his skills, has a lot to do, in terms of getting himself fit. So he's given a ball by Terry Evans, and he's realised that he's not got much left in the tank at this point. So he's going to have to pull out something a bit special here. So he takes it to the corner flag and whips in a cross, and in comes Fred, who's got a bit of the Brian Robson's about him with his timing of coming into the area, and he's powered a header past the goalkeeper. Put United 1-0 up.
Yes, and, get in.
Tangent there. He's been sitting there in his sheepskin coat. He just can't stop himself, can he?
He can't. That's it. He can't. Yeah. Although you've got to wonder where on earth the rest of the United players were, because when the cross comes in, he's the only player in the box. So yeah, you can understand why United might have been struggling if that's the way they're playing. To be fair, but 4 defenders around him, and he's made it to the ball. So won't be the last time that we see Fred showing a bit of opportunism, getting into positions like that. So with his job done, Alex is substituted, and we get Brian Stokes coming on, and he starts well, winning a header. He's even impressed Tug Wilson, and as we will find out in later issues, that is not an easy thing to do. He is, giving out compliments is not his style at all. So Stokes is obviously doing something well. And late in the game, even when Bill Shenton's finally beaten Stokes, he does manage to clear one off the line, which is it's enough to give United the vital 3 points.
Yes.
So after the disaster of Saturday, they've come back with a win. But in fact, to be honest, looking at it, they were barely under pressure at all. It was all one-way traffic, so it would have been a bit of a disaster if they hadn't got the points. As the players make their way back to the dressing room, they find Hedgehog laid out on the treatment table, giving it the Zeds. And the players decide to grab him, wake him up, and they're throwing him in the bath. Which I'm sure would contravene health and safety rules now, but
I think football dressing rooms have a different set of rules, mate.
Yeah, he's gone in with a full kit, the boots on, the lot. He's and that's one hell of a bath because he's under the water. So I don't know how deep it is. Have they got a swimming pool underground? So Alex takes this as a bit of an insult, and thinks that he's not wanted. They don't like him, but it turns out this is like an initiation ceremony. So they only do this to the players that have been accepted. So they're obviously quite happy with him, and Joe offers him the chance that he'll sign him on if that's what he wants. Which Alex, in his usual way, doesn't like to show his hand too early, or shows too many signs of weakness. So he's like, "Oh well, I might do, I might not. I'll have to see how I feel about it." And that's where we end issue number 3.
Sorry, Simmo, just
possible. Yeah, go on.
Just before you sign off on that, though, just as Joe's offering the contract, I think this is quite interesting to see, because Terry Evans actually pipes up and says, "Yeah, you've got to sign him, boss. He's almost as good as me." And obviously, we know how that relation. So, but it's interesting though that Terry Evans is actually a fan straight away.
That's not like Terry, is it? To give other people credit and to compliments, especially given the way that those two, their relationship develops. That you'd think he would be the last person he would want to give any compliments to, because they do end up not exactly being the best of friends, do they? So United, after a very disappointing Shelbridge game, they've just about clinging on to being in with an outside chance of promotion with Crystal Palace win. But next week it's back to FA Cup action again with the small matter of a game against Southpool, who I think they're not a bad side. They might have a pretty decent striker from what I've heard. But,
is that the FA Cup first round?
No.
No, it's the.
I think it's quarter-final match.
Quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So it's out of the frying pan into the fire. They've already took care of one big First Division giant in the cup. So who knows? Maybe United can pull off the shock again. We'll find out next time.
Come on, United.
Back to you, Gold.
Sorry, love that, man. Just before we go back to goal, that last bit as well on the end, the bottom of the page on that edition of Champ. I love that. I don't remember seeing anything like that in other comics. It's about saying book your seat and book your place in the stand by getting book your stand seat now by ordering next week's Champ. I love that.
Yeah, and when you actually read it, it doesn't make sense, does it? By your stand seat. It kind of sounds weird when you say it, but the intention, it's. I don't recall seeing it anywhere else, but
I just like I didn't have to pay to get in, of course.
Yeah. I like the fact though that he's kind of, again, the whole thing is sort of making you feel not like you're a reader, but like you are a supporter of the club.
Yeah, you're part of it.
By buying Champ is actually your match day ticket, right?
Yeah. They're trying to involve you, aren't they? They're trying to create an emotional link. Between the readers.
But that sort of blends in well with the whole, the higher age demographic and grittiness of the We Are United storyline as opposed to the Roy the Rover storylines.
Yeah, I think it's definitely aged more at teenagers rather than younger children, isn't it? I think just by plus I think it helps that, I mean, with Roy the Rovers, it's very centralised around Roy, Blackie, Mervyn, a couple of players. Whereas with United, it's more diverse in the fact that you're getting to know more characters.
Yeah.
So I think the more characters there are, the more you can maybe find somebody that you're attached to, somebody that you can relate to.
Absolutely.
And if you can find that, if you've got a player that you can relate to, that's going to draw you into the story even more.
Mm-hmm. And the perfect example of that is when Alex Hedgehog I can't say his name. Is when Alex Hedgehog Jones met Ridders in a discotheque.
Exactly, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean, look at how Ridders has taken to Hedgehog. I mean, that's exactly what it's
two
aimed
hairstyles.
At.
The meeting of the hairstyles. Luscious Locks and Hedgehog Jones.
Luscious Locks meets the Hedgehog.
Oh, I like that. That deserves a podcast episode all of its own.
It does, doesn't it? Yeah. Hedgehog and Ridders on a night out in Toxteth. What could possibly go wrong?
Are you all right there, Bygone?
Yeah, I'm just intently listening.
I know, I just wanted to say hello. So, yeah, that was great. I enjoyed that. Any more?
Wave at him, Bygone, just to keep him happy.
Go on. Oh, yeah. I only did a quiet eye then because it was a tiny wave. It was a microwave, if you like. So,
I'm really enjoying the Champ story because it's not something I've ever really read, other than the Football Picture Story Monthlies and that. So
it is wonderful, and there are dark times as well in the storyline, as we know, don't we, gentlemen? But it's a great storyline.
Certainly is.
Well done, Simmo.
Even now, reading through it again, every couple of issues, every 2 or 3 issues, I'm still spotting things that I missed the last time I read it.
Yeah. That's a sign of a good story.
Yeah, definitely. Are you doing part 4 next episode or having a break?
As far as I know, unless there's other features that people want to put in.
Well, I say keep going, mate. Get in there while Tangent's keeping his mouth shut. He's just on tonight to
I
provide
will
the
never introduce a feature that's going to stop this. Trust me. No way. I'm loving this, and it's United all the way.
So am I.
Well, there you go. You got it from the horse's mouth.
Yeah.
We'll carry on then.
It looks like the podcast. Why can't I speak? It looks like
because you're hosting.
I know. Do you know what? I can't be bothered now. Move on.
Well, go on, you're the host. Carry on then.
I will. Thank you for that.
You forgot again there, didn't you?
I'll be quiet.
You were waiting for Matt to cut in again there, weren't you?
I was. I'm not used to being on the podcast. What is Bygone doing?
Pressure care.
If you're watching on YouTube, you would have enjoyed that moment. But if you're listening, well. So, it's over to Mute Button Matt for a brief little mention on our 100th episode and the plans we have.
Yeah, so thanks, Goal. Like we mentioned on the last couple of episodes, we're coming up to the 100th. So we're really looking forward to that. Yes, the 100th.
It doesn't have to ring, 62, 94, 100.
Nurse, medication, quick for Goal.
I was going to say.
Dot, please.
Hey, inject him.
Bend over. Anyway, yeah. So we're
not while we're recording.
Not in there.
Bend over. Want your teammate to film McCracken?
Oh dear.
So anyway,
Paul McCavity.
If any listeners are going to actually hang around for the 100th, I'll let you know what we're going to do. So what we're looking is for you to send in your voice notes, ideally, which we can play out on the show. And we just want to hear from you. I want to hear for what episodes you've enjoyed, which features you've enjoyed, which interviews you've enjoyed, anything which you haven't enjoyed, or any questions for us as well.
No.
So we've got a couple of weeks for you to do that, or about 3 weeks really, to kind of get those in. So there's a few different ways you can do that. Now, you don't have to send in a voice note, but we really would like you to do that. So we have an email address. The email address is champweareunited, all one word. So champweareunited@gmail.com. So champweareunited@gmail.com. And that will come through to us. So you can record a voice note on your phone for, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 minutes or something like that, then send it in on that email address, and then we can add it into the show. Or you can actually send voice notes via X, but I know not everybody is probably on X. Or you can simply, there's other ways you can contact us. So, there's Facebook Messenger, you can send in messages on there. And we've also got a Champ WhatsApp group, haven't we, Paul?
Mm-hmm. We have indeed.
Paul's just trying to find the number because he hasn't got it in front of him now.
Do you know what? I can't believe this. I was so prepared, and like a plonker, I've written down my work mobile number by mistake. Thankfully, I tell you what, I'm so pleased. I tried to set something up first, and I've just seen my work number go off, and I'm like, "Why has that just gone off?"
So if you want to join a Teams call at Paul's work, then try this number. But
I now actually have the correct number, so I'm ready to give out the correct number.
Let's do that again. And also, we have a WhatsApp number which Paul will give you now.
Right, the number is 07923 359 212, and I shall give that one more time. That's 07923 359 212. And I just want to say, please rest assured, at the moment, it's not a WhatsApp chat. It will just be you sending a WhatsApp message to that mobile. We won't be sharing any numbers or anything out. Just to be taking your messages, and as Matt said, hopefully any voice notes. In the coming days, we're hoping to set up maybe a Telegram account, because I believe that doesn't then show your number if you're not happy about messaging in and your number being shared. But I can tell you that will be, any text messages and voice notes that we get will just be used for the pod. Don't worry, there will not be any sharing of numbers.
We also, haven't we trained some pigeons?
Gully's on the lookout for more friends, so don't be surprised to get a call.
And is it right, Paul, that we trained some pigeons as well? So we will accept notes from pigeons. So you can send your pigeons to Champ Towers, and we will include them in the show as well.
That's the pigeon. Muddly, you sniveling, muddling hound.
So we basically want to hear from you. I mean, also if you send an email to that email address, I can send out my personal WhatsApp number as well. If that might be easier as well, if people are worried about the whole security thing. But anyway, yeah, we really want to hear from you, our listeners. So that's it, Goal. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Matt. Lovely work. Loving your work. Okay, it's time for another section now. Really looking forward to this because he does come up with some good stuff. It's the Bygone himself. It's Neil Bygone Berrigan, Brisbane.
God, my name's getting longer. Need 10 minutes to introduce just my name. Hello, everybody. So this...
Hiya!
Hiya. I don't even know if that's like a snippet of me saying it or it is an imitation of me. I'm not sure anymore.
No, actually, sorry, before you start, you are right. I thought you might say that one day. And I've actually, well, obviously I've got me doing it now, but I've got a recording of me doing it so we can see if there's any difference, all right? So This is me doing it now. Hiya! Hang on. And this is me doing it on a pre-record. Hang on. Hiya!
Right. On that note. Right, so so I'm just going to quickly review Picture Story Monthly number 19, which is called Divided City. And in this issue, we're introduced to personally two of my favourite characters in the Football Picture Monthly story series, Rodney Powell and Kevin Kline. They do feature throughout the Football Picture Story Monthly run in several different stories. I don't think
they are in the United verse as well.
All right. Okay. I was just going to say, I don't think they featured in any comic beforehand, unless I'm going to be proved.
No, because the United verse comes into later Football Picture Story Monthlies. That's how they interact with the United verse. So you are right.
I can't remember, but I'm sure I'll go through it. So I'm hoping to do a few of these stories starting from number 19 and then feature the next one and go along because I've really enjoyed rereading this Divided City. 26p at the time, and looking at the date, it's 1987. So again, this is a story I would have bought. I was only 11 years old. So again, I've really enjoyed it, and even now I've got fond memories of reading about Kline and Powell. They are really good characters. And what I've always liked about it, and as we'll go through the story, there's a good guy and a bad guy all the way through, and it does swap sometimes, and it's how you perceive what good guys and bad guys tend to be. The person on the back is Paul Sturrock, used to play for Dundee United in Scotland. It's got on here, lovely wearing the Mexico '86 kit.
Brilliant player, very underrated player. Great player was Paul Sturrock.
Yeah. And then the other story that would have been released at the same time as this other Football Picture Monthly story was called The Hitman, which, if I remember correctly, was about a chap who was a footballer but also a boxer, and he was torn between which sport he should follow. So that's a good story as well. Anyway, so just moving on, Divided City. It starts with it introduces the first person. It's Kevin Kline, and he's playing for a team called Brummington United. And I think that's United versus, isn't it, Brummington? It explains that there's two teams in England called Brummington. There's a City and a United, and Brummington. It's the second biggest city in England, and it's famed for its industry. So it's obviously Birmingham, I believe.
Yeah.
Picking them connotations up here. And it starts, and we're introduced to our first character, who is Kline, and he's a big stocky guy with a big black moustache. And he looks like your typical centre half of the time. And again, it's drawn by, I think is it White, the drawer of Roy the Rovers from '86 onwards.
It does look a bit like, Mike White. Yeah, I couldn't say for sure.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
It is him, and it's a great artist as well. So yeah, so and the first page, Kline's being told by his colleague to Mark, Brian James is the danger man, and he's like, "Don't worry, he'll soon know him around." So I think we're picking up the connotation straight away. That Kline's a bit of a hard man. He's the crowd favourite, and they're playing in the FA Cup fifth round match, and Kline hits the marker straight away, and everyone's going foul, foul. But they know straight away Kline's a fair player. He's right through the middle, and he knows he got the ball. And then it says on the other side of the city, Brummington City are also playing in the FA Cup, and they're chanting for their star, who's Powell, Rodney Powell, and he comes on like a superhero. Everyone's chanting him, and just like myself, he's got a trademark wave that he gives to the crowd.
Yeah.
Subliminally, this is where I must have got it from. I must be the Rodney Powell of the podcast.
I think you are. I've always thought that with you.
Good looking.
Brinston or Powell?
Good
Which one are you?
footballer.
I was going to say, you are aligning yourself to all the villains.
I love a villain. I love a villain. Yeah, it's like The Walking Dead. I like Negan, and that I don't like Rick.
Yeah.
Whenever you come on the podcast, the listeners just boo.
Yeah, I love it.
I boo anyway. So
Anyway,
you know
Rodney
Neil,
Powell comes
Bygone,
on.
Berrigan, Briston, Powell.
Oh, tell you, everyone loves a bad guy, don't they? So Rodney comes on. He's being cheered onto the pitch, and he's giving him the wave. And the captain says to him, "If we play to form, Rodney, we should put five past him." And he says, "Just give me the ball, and I'll do the rest, and the goals will be guaranteed." So he gets the ball, everyone's chanting for him, scores first shot, goal straight away, slides on his knees to the crowd, he's loving it, all the attention, but it then flicks back to Brummington United's game, and Powell's in the thick of the action, heading a ball away, and their game's not as easy, the goals aren't coming, but he's defending, and they say, "Hey, Kline, watch your elbows. Are you trying to break me ribs?" And he's like, "Could be, son, could be." He don't care, he don't take no flack, he just brushes them off and walks away.
I've always loved that red and black artwork.
I know, yeah.
Yeah.
I had this as I was reading it. My son picked it up and he said to me, "Have you coloured these in yourself?" And I went, "No, that's how the pages are."
Mhm.
And he says, "Oh, it really." He said it brings it to life. He said it's really he loves the colours, and it's a shame that in the later issues they just went to pure black and white, didn't they? But it must have been a cost thing. But it's brilliant, I think. Anyway, so the game's it's in the action, and Powell and Kline has to clear the ball off the line. He has to then mark the winger, and he puts in another hard tackle, and he's got the nickname Killer Kline because he does them killer tackles. And the ref says to him, "Any more tackles like that, and you'll go in the book." And he's like, "Leave it out. I've only got to breathe on him when he falls over." And he says, "I don't want you speaking to me like that," and he ends up getting booked.
You look quite yes in there.
You know the issue you've got in front of you?
Yeah.
Mine's a little bit different layout.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that was the same on the Simmo champ as well. Trust me.
All right, okay. Anyway, just a coincidence. Anyway, so yeah, Kline he gets booked, and then he's not done nothing wrong, but he's just showing he's always portrayed as the bad guy. He's playing it down the middle, but he gets booked, and I'll explain why I'm going over this shortly. But it flicks back to Rodney Powell as you switch the button over and you're going to watch the next match, and he's going for his hat tricks, and he's like, "Come on, you'll have to do better than that." He's taking the mickey out of the man who's marking him. Plays a lovely 1-2 with his partner, and he's through on goal, and then that's it. Bang, he gets his hat trick. And then it flicks back again to Kline's game, and time's running out, and he's trying to urge his team on. He's like, "Come on, let's push forward. We don't want a replay," in the days when they had replays. And then Kline shows his footballing class by knocking a ball out wide. The cross comes in. They head it away, and who do you think's charging into it? The clearance, it's Kline. Bang, goal, what a goal. Smashes it in the top corner.
Brilliant
And it's
goal.
a narrow victory for United. But everyone's booing him because they think he's cheated, he's been elbowing people, he's been booked, and the opposition fans don't like him. And he just says it doesn't make a difference to me what they do. Boos or cheers, it's all one to me. He don't care, he's just there for the football. He plays it fair and gets the result. So then it clicks on to Monday, and everyone in Brummington's tuned in for the FA Cup draw, and the names start coming out, and they're like, number 8, Brompton Albion playing number 2, Walford Town. Double L Walford, actually, not single, as in the Rovers. Number
Brompton
7,
Albion,
Brummington
that's
City.
Jimmy
Sorry?
Grant's club, wasn't it? Wasn't that Jimmy Grant's club, Brompton Albion?
Yeah, that was where he started. It was his first professional club. Brilliant spot,
Yeah.
Simmo. Yes.
Brilliant, yeah. Excellent.
Yep.
I love art like that. I think
Yeah.
it's fantastic. I hope it was intentional. I hope they just didn't think, oh,
Mm,
throw that name.
mm.
I hope they had these names of teams wrote down so they could refer back and have them in, you know. But anyway, the cup draw's being made. Number 7, Brummington City. Who do you think they're going to get in the quarterfinals? It's number 6, Brummington United, a
What are the
local derby
chances?
match.
Mhm.
One of the two biggest teams in the game, and they're playing against each other in the quarter final. What a game that's going to be! But the United players heard the news while they're getting changed in the dressing room, and it said one of the players says to Kline, "You're going to be up against Powell, Kev. You lay it on him too. It's if you lay it on him hard, there'll be a riot. The fans will have you." And he says, "I'll just play my normal game. If Powell can't take it, he shouldn't play." Then one of the players says, "Someone was saying that you went to school with him, didn't you?" And he says, "Is it right?" And he says, "Yeah, that's right." He said, "How did you get on with him? Do you know him?" He says, "I know him better than his own mother does." And then it goes on to like a memory. It, if it was black and white, it would probably be black and white. And he said, "We were at Tadworth Council School together." He says, "And Powell was a bit of a posh kid, and it shows Powell with his blazer and his cap on." He says, "His folks had a bit of brass." He says, "Mine didn't. I was a scruffy little nipper." And as he goes into the changing room, before they must have been playing a game together, as Kline walks in, Powell stood there with a wallet in his hand, and he says, "I thought you'd be on the pitch by now. What are you doing?" He says, "Oh, it's you. Come and have a look at this." And he says, "What is it?" He says, "It's a wallet. I found it, and there's £6 in it." He says, "What's that for?" He says, "For you. Take it. We'll go half each. No one will know." He says, "I know. I'm not a thief, Powell." And he says, all right. Don't go on. I was only joking." He says it deserves them right if they did lose the money. He says they shouldn't be leaving it about. And then Klein says, "Leaving it lying about, you've pinched it from the coat and you know it." So straight away you get in the Klein's a good guy and Powell's a bit of a bad guy. Straight away it's all set up. He said, but Powell did have some football class and he was the star of the team. And you could see him straight away back in his orders saying, "I'm going to pass it and I want it back in the box." But what he's showing here, that Pal was also a cheat, and it shows him at one point the ball comes across and he hits it with his hand, does like a Diego Maradona. If he did handball the ball in '86, it's a similar goal, and everyone's like, "We saw you handle it," and he's like, "I didn't handle it; it was a goal." And he's like, "Come away, Powell. We saw you handle it. Let's all get on with the game." As the match goes on, um, Kline remembers that he did defend well then, and he's saving the ball, and he does another tackle where he goes in from behind, and everyone's saying, "You're dirty," and it's a penalty. He says, "But I took the ball." So he says, "It's out." The referee says, "All right, Kline, that's enough. It's a penalty. You're lucky I'm not sending you off." So it shows straight away. Kline plays through the middle, gets the ball, and everyone thinks he's dirty. Whereas Rodney Powell taps the ball in with his hand, and everyone thinks he's a superstar.
I think he's misunderstood there, Neil. I think he's just doing the bygone wave. I think the ball just hits him.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
yeah, he's
He's
done a
waving to his
bygone.
fans in the crowd, wasn't he? Yeah,
God, we could
Yeah,
call it. He's done a bygone. Love it.
got a bike.
Yeah, so then it shows he moves on, and when they were 15, me and Pal were in the schoolboy England's team. And they say, "You'll have to watch your tackles today, Klein. The referee will be down on you like a ton of bricks." And he says, "I play hard but fair, and you know it." But Powell's again, he's the star. He scores another goal, and everyone says that this Powell's got a future. And he scored twice in the game, and he was voted man of the match. He said, "We didn't concede a goal, so I must have played well too." But nobody said anything to me. Then it moves on, and when they're 16, Klein says, "We both went to Brummington City for a trial. Rod reckoned he was sure to get taken on. He could score goals, and that's what managers look for." And Klein says to him, "You look nervous, Powell." He says, "Yeah, but this is where my football career starts, Klein, where the big money starts. City will sign me after this game, but nothing's going to stop me. Nothing." He says, "Good job we're on the same side then, because no one's going to get past me." And it starts, and Rodney Powell sets out to impress. And he does a lovely shimmy and a move past the defender, and which obviously impresses the manager straight away because he said there's a little inset that shows the manager saying, "That's Powell, great turn. He's got plenty of talent, this lad." And Powell shoots, but the goalkeeper saves it. And then, "But nice save," they say out, and he says, "Nice save, nothing. He was just lucky." He turns and says to Klein, then, "The goalie didn't even see it coming. I don't know how he stopped it." And Klein says, "You've hit him straight at the keeper. You need to hit it at the side." So anyway, the game carries on, and Kline says I was playing pretty well. He said, and that he shows him positioning himself to cut out a cross, and as he cuts out the cross, the manager says that wasn't luck, it's positioning. He's a good young player, this Kline. And then he gets the ball forward. He gives the ball for Powell to run onto, and Rodney Powell runs on, hits the ball on the volley, and the keeper saves it again. He does not know what he's got to do to beat this keeper. The keeper makes it look easy. And the manager says, this kid Powell's good on the ball. He gets in good positions. And the other coach says, I like Kline. He tackles hard and reads the game well. But then at the other end of the pitch, for the other opposition side, was a young lad who's also on trial called Arnold Newby. And he gets the ball, takes it past the centre back. Kline goes over to tackle him, but he does him. And as he slides in, Newby scores. What a goal. And even Kline says to him, that was a good goal, mate, but be careful because you won't get a chance to do that again. And Newby says, you reckon? I've got the legs on you. He said, I'll get past you easily. As the ball's returned to the centre circle, you can see Powell's a little bit jealous. And he's like, you let him score that, Kline. What are you doing? You're trying to get him a chance, aren't you, with City and keep me out? And he just says, "You've got a big mouth, Powell. Keep it closed and concentrate on the match." But there was no holding this Arnold Newby. He was a class apart, and the manager straight away says, "Get his name down. We're going to offer him terms. We're not letting him get away." And again, he scores another goal, 2-0. And even Kline says, "He's done me again. He's just too good." Powell then goes up to Kline and says, "I've got to have a word." He says, "You got to slow him down. Go over the ball on him." And he says, I don't go on the ball over the ball to anybody, Powell. Newbie's a bit special, and that's the end of it. So 5 minutes later, Kline's in the action again. He said, all I've done is get knocked about. Oh, sorry. The ball comes across and he's trying his best to mark the player, and he says, all I've done is edit across the box. Newbie's going to be onto this. And Newbie runs through, he's got the ball and he's just teeing himself up for the shot. And you just see Powell running in behind him and he whacks him on the back. And he goes over and he says, that's a bad foul, it's going to be a penalty. And just as the player's going down, Powell swipes his other leg and all you can hear is the player, my knee, my knee. And it's like everyone's shouting for a stretcher and the lad's in tears on the pitch. And then they said, broken leg it looks like. I suppose you're happy now, aren't you, Powell? And he's like, I don't know what you mean. It was a fair challenge. And then near the end, Powell runs for the ball. Smack, goal, top corner. And he says, it looks like your luck's run out, keeper. And he says, what about that? That's brilliant. So Powell got his goal in the end. So later on, when they've got changed, Powell saying to Kline, we've made it, Kline. We're both being offered terms. City want to sign us. But Kline says, if they want you, mate, I'll pull out. I'll find another team. And he says, turn down City. You've got to be joking. He says, I'm not playing in any team that's got you in it. And he says, you broke Newby's leg deliberately. I saw it. And he says, now just wait a minute. If you ever say that to anyone else, I'll. And he says, you'll what? Take your hand off me. Don't worry. I'll keep my mouth shut. No one will believe me anyway. There's no proof. And then Kline goes on then and leaves. But Powell signed for Brummington City, and he says if you make good progress, the manager says if you make good progress, you can turn pro when you're 17. You'll have to work hard. Most apprentices never make it, but he says I will.
Cocky sounds so.
Yeah. Straight away though, it's set the mark, hasn't it? You've got the
completely
bad guy, but it's only you who knows who the good guy and bad guy are. The fans, the way they see it is Powell's the good guy and Kline's the bad guy. I love it, like proper pantomime. So he goes over to so Kline goes to Brummington United then for a trial, and the manager says he's strong, determined. 9 times out of 10, he comes away with a ball. So he ended up signing for United, and he said and they meet each other for some reason in a chip shop or a cafe, and Powell sat there, and he says, "So you signed for United? You're mad. They'll never get out of the second division." He says, "Is that so?" Well, you could be wrong there, Powell. And at the age of the 18. Kline was already a United regular, and now he's got his moustache as well. Must be where all his strength comes from as well. And it shows the first picture, the first image. Kline's there smashing into a player on the wing, and everyone's going, "That's the way to hit him." But it's always the fans who he plays with, they love him, but all the opposition don't like him, and they love to hate him. But they did get promoted. United won the second division title, And they're like, yes, first division, here we come. And Kline said, yeah, that a few old scores have got to settle. But City, they were flying up the first division and with Powell, and he scored in the goals, and they finished runners up, and he'd become the City hero, and everyone loved him. It's only one Rodney Powell. And then the next scene, it's quite upsetting this part here. Kline goes to visit Arnold Newby after the cup draw was made, and he goes to see him, and you just see the young lad who was so quick up front. He's sat there now, and he's got a cane next to him, and he just says, "How's it going, Arnold?" And he says, "Not so bad. I've settled in at the job at the bakery." So all that potential he had, and due to that bad tackle, he's having to work in a bakery where Rodney Powell is scoring all the goals in the first division. And Newby just says, "The doctors want me to have another operation on the knee, but they don't guarantee anything. Might as well face it, Kev. My football days are over. Unlucky tackle that Powell laid on me that day, wasn't it?" And obviously, Kline knows differently. But he just says, "You could have been the best out of the lot of us too. Has he ever visited you?" And he says, "No, I've not seen him since that day." So obviously the supposed bad guy goes to visit this newbie, and the good guy, Powell, who finished his career, has not been once. And he just, as he's closing the door, Kline just says, "Powell put him out of the game for good. Now Powell's the blue-eyed boy with City. There's just no justice." The next scene, as well, it shows that Powell is all there. He's got his lovely shirt and tie and suit on, and he's looking around, feeling car doors to see if there's any empty. And he open, and there's a car door there. He opens it, and there's a handbag on the seat. And he just says, "Some people are asking for trouble. Fancy leaving this lot around?" And he finds keys, an envelope with an address on it. And he says, "Nice posh car, nice leather handbag. I smell money." And then that evening, he goes to visit this chap who looks a bit unkempt. And he says, "Is there a front door key with that lot?" I don't know why I'm doing the accent. And Paul said, "Yes, front door
So were
key."
you? I didn't pick that up. But
I was trying to do a Delmar.
Do you know what? I just laughed and wasn't going to comment on it.
Is that not accent? "Is there a front door key with that lot?" So he's like, "Yeah,
that's good.
That was good.
Oh, I
like,
don't believe Nick Cotton is alive and well on the pod alongside his mum, Dot.
Go on. Do
it again.
I've got another scene coming up." So he's like, they must be in a dodgy pub like the Nag's Head or somewhere like that. They're like, "Yeah, front door key, car key, the address, and one or two other keys. Could be a lucky find, Charlie. See what you can do, eh?" "I'll do it in the next couple of weeks, Rod." And then he says, "Don't get caught, Charlie. If I'll deny I've ever seen you." So then, anyway, it goes back to the build-up, and Brummington City was gripped with cup fever. And Powell's coming down the steps, and the fans are saying to him, "You're going to beat United, aren't you, Rod? You won't let Killer Kline mark you out of the game." He says, "No danger. I'm far too good for that animal." And that evening, he's back in the Nag's Head, and the chap comes over again. "Hey, Rod." And he goes, "I'll be right over." "Those keys were beautiful, Rod. Open the front door and a dirty great safe in the living room.
It just wouldn't sound as threatening with a Brummie accent, would it?
He's your end." Yeah, he moved up though because he's probably on the run from London.
Please, listeners, sorry to interrupt. Please, if you're not watching this on YouTube, go over to YouTube and just see the mouth that Bygone pulls doing that impression. It's worth it just for the entrance fee.
You know what? It reminds me of. Has anybody watched The Fall and Rise of Reggie Perrin?
Yeah.
When he dies and then he comes back as this, and he pretends he's this character, doesn't he?
I talked about that. I was talking about that today. That's probably
really? Well, that's exactly who you were doing. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Carry on.
So anyway,
I mean, I thought it was a mix of between Grandad on Only Fools and Horses and Bob Hoskins.
Oh, I'll be honest with you. I thought he was warming up for the World Gurning Championships.
Anyway,
no, he doesn't need to practice.
So anyway, I forgot where I'm up to. Oh yeah, so he says, a dirty great safe in the living room, 800 quid in it. Here's your ring." I just see myself doing it. Anyway, so he says, 200 for me. "It ain't enough, Charlie. I'll take 400. Be fair, Rod. It's always been 25% for you. I have to pay off other people too, you know." Look, you little...
pay off other people, you know.
I'm going to do them Vimos. If anybody wants me to wish anybody a happy birthday doing the character and candle.
Yeah, please. Happy birthday to you, Stevie.
Happy birthday. It's my ring, isn't it? So he says, look, you little runt, I'm the one who makes the job easy for you. Go and get half. You can tell your friends and crummy mates that too. All right, don't do your not, Rod. Yeah, I'll pass on your message, but it ain't everybody who thinks you're who's a football fan. We don't all think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. And he's Rod's walking away. That's what he's saying to himself, and he talks like that to himself as well, because he likes the voice.
With an accent. He talks like that to himself with an accent.
Brilliant.
I've lost
Fantastic.
it. It's gone on at this story. Anyway, back on the day of the big cup tie, and the manager for Brummington City comes in and says, "This could be our year for the cup, lads. Turn City over, and we're in the finals." That's wrong, isn't it? You should be saying, "Oh yeah, sorry, I've got it wrong." I can't see Kline. Yeah, sorry, I've got it wrong. You look like Rodney Powell. Stop there. That's all. It threw me. So can we just edit that bit out? So on the big day of the cup tie, in the Brummington United changing rooms, he says, "This could be the year for the cup, lads. Turn City over, and we're in the semis." And the player goes, "Stop worrying, boss. We're long overdue." I'm giving characters for everybody.
Doing it again.
Welcome.
You can't stop yourself now.
Stop worrying, boss. We're long overdue and win over City. Anyway, so the manager turns to Kline and says, "Do a job on Rodney Powell's, Kev, and stop him scoring." And he says, "It'll be a pleasure, boss." So in the City dressing room, he said the manager's saying to Powell, "Kline will stay close to him all the time. He'll be hitting you every chance he gets. You should get a few free kicks out of it." And Powell's thinking, "Kline's tough, but he's not dirty. I'll have to try a few dives and make him look good." And as usual, Powell comes out on the pitch and everyone's chanting, "Rodney Powell, Rodney Powell." And then all the boos start when Kline comes on the pitch. And they're like, "They've got it right in for you, Kevin. You've not done anything yet." And he says, "I don't care." So anyway, the game starts and Kevin Kline's Powell's shadow. And Powell says, "Why don't you just give me an easy game, Kev? A lot of people would make it worth your while if I told him if you cooperated." And he's like, "Stuff it, stupid." And he says, Powell's playing and he's still talking to him. And he says, "That's the trouble, Kline. You don't even think." And Kline says, "If you score today, Rodney, I'm going to retire." But anyway, the game starts and straight away a hard challenge comes in on Kline. And he's like, "Foul, referee, foul." But the ref don't buy it and tells him to get up and stop play acting. And then it becomes an all-action game. Chances at either end. And then just at half-time, Powell's away. He's lost his shadow. He's through on goal. But then next thing you know, Kline comes in and takes the ball off him and runs off with it. Powell's screaming for a penalty, but the ref says no. At half time, two different changing rooms. Everyone's cheering Kevin Kline, saying, "Powell hasn't had a shot. You've managed to keep him out of it." And he's like, "Yeah, he's done a couple of good games, but we've got a decent ref. He knows the game." And in the City's changing room, the manager's not happy. He says, "What's the matter, Rod? Are you frightened of Kline or something? He's playing you out of the game." And he said, "Nobody plays me out of the game. Kline isn't the only one who can play tough. I'll have him in this half." So early in the second half, the pressure comes on again, and the ball's pumped into the box. And the ball gets lobbed back in, and Powell goes for it and says, "Come a bit closer, Kleiner. This is where you get it." And straight away, Powell throws his head back and smacks Kline straight in the head, and he says, "Bang on target." And he's like, "It was an accident, ref. We both went for the ball. Okay, okay." And Kev has to go off for a few minutes for some stitches, but he says, "No, I'm not going to go off. Give me a swab and I'll play on." And everyone's like, "Yeah, you've got to hand it to Kline. He's a tough player." And he dishes it out, but he certainly can take it. And Powell comes over to him and says, "Sorry, mate." And he says, "You've never been sorry for anything, Powell. You don't fool me. You better watch out from now on." And from that moment on, Powell's playing away from him. He's scared of him. He's making sure he don't go towards him. And Kline knows that. He says, "You could not come in near me so I don't crunch your back." But anyway, it looks like it's going to be a goalless draw and the match starts petering out. And then right near the end, City have got it. They've gone forward. Powell puts Eddie Barnes away, his partner. But this time Powell, the pass is intercepted. And he's read it clean as a whistle and Kline's there. And again, gets the ball, carries it to the halfway line, and then passes it diagonally across the pitch. And that Jones, the winger, runs onto it. He's fast as a greyhound. Runs in, shoots, and the ball comes out. But the goalkeeper saves it. And then following up, Bill Baxter, he knocks it in the net, and it's the only goal of the game. It's the winner. and everyone's chanting, City, City, we're on our way to Wembley. And the manager's happy. Kline's there in the bath, and he says, well done, lads, that was a great display. And you did a great job on Powell, Kev. How's your head? And he says, I've got a thin, thick skin, boss. I don't hurt easy. And in the opposition changing room, Powell's there getting ready, and he says, well, Kline had the best out of it, Rodney. He kept you quiet, and the manager's not happy. And he says, maybe, but he's got a few bruises to prove that he was in a game. And he says, the manager then says, league match against Westford Wednesday, are you fit? And he says, I'll be there, boss, and I'll score that this time. And just as Powell's leaving the ground, a car pulls up to him and says, hey, you're Rod Powell, aren't you? And he says, if you're after an autograph, you're out of luck, lads, I'm in a hurry. But they're not after an autograph. And the lads set upon him and hold him down, and giving him a right turnover, and they're battering him, punch him in the stomach and in the face. And they just say, in the future, don't take much money from our Charlie. And he says, you can be in a little bit greedy, Rod. Try again, and we'll do, and it'll turn nasty, very nasty. Charlie's our mate, you see. So obviously Charlie had told his friends, and they're not happy that they didn't get enough money out of him.
What, Neil, what do you think Charlie might have said to them? In what sort of voice?
I'd have just think he'd have said, can you do that power over for me? He's done me out of 200 nicker.
Can I request you do something as well?
As long as it's clean.
In the same voice, just say, and this ain't over. Go on.
And this ain't over.
You gotta get it now, pal, you slag.
Have you noticed that why I'm being quiet? Because that's just my normal voice.
Yeah, I don't mean to offend anybody via this voice. You're more than welcome to take the mickey out of mine.
You're fine.
It wouldn't sound as intimidating, would it, if you had a Dudley accent? You just can't threaten anybody in a Dudley accent, can you?
It's all being done in the right spirit. I'm taking it in that way, and I'm sure our listeners will as well. So, it's good fun.
This is the funniest episode, the funniest section we've had in years.
Excellent. So anyway, he's on the floor, Powell, and he's still there later on when Kline's walking past with one of his friends, and he says, Powell, what's happened to you? And he says, I don't know, must have been a fly-out foul, Kline. And they're saying, do you want me to call the police? And he says, no need. It was just an argument with some friends. And he says, but you've got no friends, Powell. And Powell says, I've got more friends than you'll ever have, Kline. Come to Wednesday's game come to City's game on Wednesday and you'll see. And then the last page, it's a lovely drawn scene, and it's like a silhouette against the background of a football stadium, and everyone's going, Rodney Powell, he's magic. Boo, you dirty Kline, get off. And it's like, so the hero and the villain of a divided city, but which is which, we know. And I think that's a great story, and I think it's set up for the rest of the Kline and Powell stories, which I'll try and cover in the next few podcasts. I really enjoyed Kline and Powell, and I think that's a great story of a divided city.
Do you know what? Brilliant, Bygone, and it's fantastic to relive these, because obviously I've read that, and I'm like you. I'm a big, I think all FPSM fans are big Kline and Powell fans, right? Because it's one of the stories. But I'd completely forgotten the thread about Arnold Newby.
Yeah,
and it's amazing, to relive that again and see that. Yeah, I'd completely forgotten that that's how Rodney Powell got his chance by taking him out, and actually I'd forgotten that it really did end the promising young player's career. So,
but there's no remorse, is there? There's nothing. There's no.
Yeah. It's just...
And I think you see it across all the stories in Football Pitch Story Month with Kline and Powell. It's like, even though I don't want to spoil it for anybody, and obviously I'm not doing, but they do move and they play for a lot of clubs in Scotland, France, Italy. And you think, God, Powell, he just moves from club to club, but so does Kline. Kline plays for different teams, but you just see the different sides of each of them.
And I've got to say, in all honesty, we see that. I mean, Goal to mention, I think one of your comic book heroes, like Andy Steele, Playmaker, and I think we start to see that later on in the later years of the comics. And the reason being is, as we all know, they do exist, but this kind of Roy the Rovers, Joe Pearson characters, these one club men, they are becoming rarer and rarer, and I think the comics recognise that, and I enjoyed it, but it always shocked me. I mean, Jimmy Grant Simmo. I mean, crikey. I mean, he must have clocked up 5, 6, 7 clubs. Brompton, Albion.
The first 4 seasons, he was at a different club every time.
Yeah, yeah. So, but as you say, Bygone, it's really interesting, and obviously we don't. Well, I'm sure a lot of our readers will have read most of them, but any spoiler alerts. But yeah, there's going to be really interesting to watch that go on through the other football picture story monthlies, and like Simmo's taking us back to the United, bringing up things that I've read but forgotten all about and really enjoyed.
But this Kline and Powell's going to be great for me because obviously I know who the characters are. I know the names, but I'm actually getting to learn something more in depth about them now than
the stories never seem repetitive. It never seems like, oh, this is a rehash of this Kline and Powell story. It seems fresh every time. You read different scenarios and different situations. I think, when they play together again, then they go to manage different teams as well. So player managers and that, it's good. Yeah,
and it's all what it's doing is it's also. I don't know whether it's intentional or not, whether there was meant to be a link, but there's also a couple of instances where there's things that cross over with Unitedverse again.
Yeah. Well,
Brummington City for a start.
As Goal sort of mentioned, I mean, I don't know if we want spoilers, but there will be a massive moment in one of the stories where it really does enter the Unitedverse.
I mean, I don't recall Brummington United ever being in the Unitedverse. Brummington City definitely were.
Yeah, yeah.
And if we're saying there that didn't it say City finished runners up?
Yeah.
That was the year that United won the title. That was the year Jimmy Grant went to United. So that would have made that fills in a blank there as to who the runners up were.
Yeah,
that's brilliant.
And also, it mentioned Westford. That's a team that United played in the FA Cup.
Walford.
Towards the end, there was a mention of they had a game against Westford.
Yeah, Westford.
United played them in the cup.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Yeah, trust me, Simmo. I don't want to spoil it for you, but there's going to be because judging by you, I want to leave it when he'll get to a story and you'll be like, "What?" You really will.
That's fair enough.
It really is a Unitedverse.
But one thing I did spot, Neil.
What's it links?
It's City that Kline plays for, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah,
or is it City that Powell plays for? Which one is it plays for City? Is it Powell?
Powell plays for City and Kline plays for United.
Yeah, so if you go back to the end of the match, isn't it the City fans that are cheering? Didn't they lose?
It might have just been
I was second guessing myself.
Yeah, you're right.
Have I got them the right way around there? Because
that's why
the City fans cheering.
Do you know what? I've got it's really interesting. It says following up United's Bill Baxter, but you're right, it was the winner. And as they're walking out, we're on our way to Wembley, and then the text is actually City ! City ! Not United.
Yeah, that's why. I thought I got it wrong.
Interesting.
I thought because I do mix my names up sometimes, but I thought I got that wrong. But it's you're right.
So it's a continuity error on their part. Then they've just put the wrong one up. They've got the wrong thing cheering.
Good spot.
Yeah.
Good spot,
Brilliant, Simmo. Yeah, I didn't.
And the thing is, I probably wouldn't have noticed that if I knew the story better. It wouldn't. But because I was so kind of trying to work out who plays for who and everything, that's probably the only reason I spotted it.
Do you know what? Sorry to interrupt. Do you know what's interesting? If I'd have been just reading that, I might not have noticed. I might have to come to the end of the story and just maybe not pick that up, to be honest. But because, Bygone, you were telling the story so that's going in audio, and we were looking at the imagery, we were able to pick it up easier. It's a great spot.
Great spot.
Well, I must admit, I've read that several times, and that is a continuity thing that I've never picked up on in all the years.
Well done. Yeah.
Sometimes it just takes a fresh face to look at something, because if you've read something, it's like with United. Quite often I'll read through it and I'll miss things because I know what's coming. I'll read or see what I expect to see.
Yeah.
And sometimes you actually spot something that's wrong. It's like one of them famous Mandela moments, isn't it? That you're at goal.
Yeah.
Where you see what you expect to see and it's not actually what's there.
Brilliant.
And going back to something you said just a moment ago, Bygone, all of us, get our names mixed up sometimes, don't we, Steve?
We sure do, Mike.
Is it back to me now?
Well, you're on the mic, Mike.
Oh, I say, very well done. Yeah, very fun.
On the deck,
yeah.
What have you done with Ant?
What?
He said you're on the deck. I said, what have you done with Ant?
I can't even do impressions of them. I'm not even going to try.
No, because they're alive.
But that's true. Oh, good spot. Good spot. I'll just go back to my default Dorothy Cotton. Actually, no, I think I'll give Dorothy a rest because there's only one more section to go. She's making the cups of teas for afterwards. I might bring in Ronnie Corbett briefly. Do you want Ronnie Corbett to come and say hello?
It's been a long
time.
Yeah,
but just a short one.
Hang on. Who is it? It's me, I'm back. I said to do, producer, I said, Ronnie Corbett. I can't wait for hundreds.
Wasn't that Rob Brydon?
Yeah, that was Rob. That was me doing an impression of Rob Brydon doing an impression of Ronnie Corbett. Yeah, well, that went well. Right. Finally. Last but not least. Oh, it's him again. Oh, thank Christ for that. Quick, start speaking, mute button, Matt, because otherwise Tangent's going to find a section to do. It's back to you, mute. And what are you finishing us off with?
Well, I'm going to share my screen now for people on YouTube to have a look at it. I'm going to do Jack of United and Jimmy of City.
Great.
So here we go. Yeah. So first of all, it appeared in Score and Roar. So this is on the 19th of September 1970. And we've got Jack of United. It's Castleburn United. And it's his brother Jimmy, who plays for Castleburn City. And Jack Chelsea, Jimmy Chelsea. So the Chelsea brothers, Chelsey, not like the football team. And the artist was Barry Mitchell, who indeed was the artist for the Marx Brothers later on in Roy the Rovers.
And Napa goes for goal.
Yeah, well, yeah, those blokes. I mean, I think it's interesting because this story to me always feels very similar to what the Marx Brothers becomes, if you see what I mean, because you've got two brothers. The author is interesting. It's Frank Pepper. This is there's an interview which I listened to David Hunt, who's the editor of Scorcher, and he said that actually the author of this was Frank Pepper, who was obviously the person who first wrote the first 4 episodes of Roy the Rovers back in 1954. So that's interesting. Wow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through the first few weeks of the story, how it first appeared in Score and Roar. So you'd have Jack of United. Score and Roar was 2 comics in one. I know I've spoken about this before, like Whizzer and Chips. Jack of United was in Score, and Jimmy of City was in Roar. So I'm going to take you through them. So here we have on the screen, we have Jack and Jimmy, and we've been introduced. And so both top-class amateur footballers were offered a trial by First Division Castleburn United. No one was more delighted than their father, a keen United fan. So he's got the dream there. He could have both his sons playing for his favourite team. And you've got we first meet them, and you've got Jack there, who's the guy on the right, in a very smart blazer and tie, very prim and proper. And then you've got Jimmy with like longer hair, with a bit of a beatnik scarf around his neckerchief type thing.
Neckerchief. You did go there.
Neckerchief. He is a neckerchief.
Yeah, definitely.
So you can see that they're kind of, I don't know, they're portraying that they're different types of characters, if you like. And interestingly, they get the bus to United's ground. And they're at the nursery ground, and the trainer's giving them a talk. And so they start off with the trial, and immediately the coach is saying, "Yeah, I like the look of this number 6, solid, reliable, knows what he's doing." So that's Jack. He's on the ball, and there's lots of comments like, "Yeah, I like the number 6, intelligent play," and then suddenly Jimmy gets the ball, and he's beaten a few players, and the coaches are going, "Oh, he's got what ball control? He's beaten 3 men. He's great, Eric. Oh yeah, clever, really good." But then one of them says, "Oh yeah, maybe a bit of a show off. A lot depends on how he finishes." And he hits a shot, and the keeper like turns it around the post. And even the coaches said, "Oh, he might have done a bit better to pass it to someone." So Jack's definitely impressed initially, but Jimmy perhaps not so. So the game continues, and the coach is saying, "Yeah, for Jimmy, he's got bags of skill, I'll grant you, but he's too much of a lone wolf. I'm looking for men who will play as a team and playing a united, in inverted quotation marks, style, and my style, like number 6." And then the game continues, and Jack manages to score a goal as well, so he gets a header at the far post. And actually, at half time, Eric Mills is the coach, and he beckons to Jimmy, say, "Oh, thanks very much for coming. You can get changed now. I'll be giving these other lads a chance in the second half." So Jimmy's, immediately, so he realizes he hasn't been successful with his trial. And Jack's going, "Oh, you've seen enough of us. You're turning us down." And Eric, the coach, is going, "No, it's not you. I'd like you to stay for the second half. We can talk contract terms." So immediately at half term, he's like saying to Jack, they're interested. But Jimmy, he's off. So he kind of picks up his bag and his neckerchief, and he wanders off. So the story then continues. Now we get to further on in the comic, we actually get to the raw section. So now we're Jimmy of City. So this is titled Jimmy of City. So if you like, I guess what it did was you had 4 pages of a story.
Yeah,
that's what it actually did, isn't it? So, but just seen from a different angle, obviously a different character. So you've got Jimmy. He's walking away from the trial with United, and he walks past a group of lads who are just like hanging around a local recreation ground. And they see him and they go, "Oh, I wonder if he'd play. Do we know if he'd be any good? Well, be better than nothing." So clearly they're trying to get a game together. And then you just shout out to him, "Fancy a game? 3 of our chaps can't make it." So he's like, yeah, I don't mind making up the numbers." They then ask a couple of other blokes that are just standing around just for no apparent reason, the side of a recreation ground. And they're like, "Oh, no. Our playing days are over." So anyway, so they agree that they're going to play 2 men down. So the game starts, and Jimmy's just standing around. They haven't passed it to him yet. So he's actually says, "I don't know why they've actually bothered to ask me to play. So I reckon they're afraid I'm not fit and can't be trusted." But then he decides to get into the game. So he grabs hold of the ball and he starts just weaving through. So he weaves through about 3 or 4 of their defenders, and then he smacks the ball in the goal. And they're going, "Oh, what a goal." And then, of course, now they've realised he's good. And so they just give him the ball whenever they can. And he scores another goal, and then another one as well. And the game ends in a 7-3 win for Jimmy's side. And he scored all the goals, all 7. Now, unbeknownst to him, would you believe it? But Ian Clark, the manager of Castleburn City, has actually been watching the game. And he goes, "You're just the type of player I'm looking for, i.e. someone who can score 7 goals." They're usually quite popular, those sort of.
I was going to say, the managers normally attracted to that, aren't they?
Yeah, well, yeah. And he says, "This is crazy." He says, "United have just turned me down." And Ian says, "That's the big difference between Eric Mills and me. He likes disciplined players who can be trained to perform his set pieces. I go for individuals with talent to make it up as they go along." So anyway, Jimmy gets off the bus, and then as he gets off the bus, he can see that Jack's arrived home. It looks like he's got a different blazer on, actually. But anyway, he's talking to his dad, and he said to his dad, obviously, that he's been signed up by United, and obviously he's told him about Jimmy not being chosen. But then Jimmy comes along and goes, "You'll never believe this. While Jack was getting fixed up with United, I've been signing for City." And his dad goes, "Well, what a turn up." Yeah, what a turn up indeed. And so they go indoors and everybody laughs. And his mother's going, "Oh, you always wanted to play together. Now you may face each other one day for City United." And Jack's going, "I'll be sure to mark you out of the game, Jimmy." And Jimmy's like, "Never. I'll be sure to score a hat-trick. What a great day it will be, Jack." So that's the first week of Jack of United, Jimmy of City. So I'll carry on just for the next couple of weeks. So what we find is Jack's now playing in the reserves, and he's making his mark, and he's doing pretty well. He actually ends up scoring a goal. He actually scores a goal. I always find it quite interesting in these games because there's always quite a big crowd for reserve games, isn't there? There's always a crowd. There's always a crowd in, isn't there? I think
there
Roy
used
the
to
Rovers,
be.
it's always the case, isn't it?
Yeah, but I must admit, I mean, I've years ago when I was a teenager, I went to a few reserve games at Arsenal. I actually played at Highbury. I mean, there were a few. I mean, wasn't even quarter full, but they used to be free to go into. But speaking to my granddad, I mean, again, like we've said, some of these things, you wonder what era they're actually set in. But I believe in the 50s and the 60s, reserve games used to get quite between 5 and 10,000 fans at some of the big clubs. So it's quite interesting.
Right. Okay.
Just an interesting point to add personally. Talking about reserve games, I went to secondary school next to playing Norfolk United. So whilst people were like going off and at break time in the afternoon, going off and having a kickabout in the playground, I would sneak into the reserve games and watch them, and then sometimes forget to go back to class. But yeah, but that's why I didn't end up going to university, I guess. But I was too busy, and I've worked there for the rest of my life, haven't I?
Torquay at heart. That's you, Goal.
That's it, exactly. Excellent.
What's that?
So the game continues, and what we find is actually Ken Wilson, who's a first team player, he's not too happy because Jack's obviously doing really well. So he decides to kind of go in a bit hard on Jack. It's like he says, "I'll show this beginner who's boss man around here." But Jack remains cool, and he skillfully beats the tackle. But then Wilson goes charging back into him, and with his foot up dangerously. He actually comes off the worst of it, and he actually gets injured. So he's injured on the ground, and of course, that means there's only one thing he can do. And Eric Mills says, and actually, you see the last panel of that week, Jack arrived home that evening, smiling quietly to himself with a feeling of triumph. Wait till Jim gets in. I've got some news that will shake him rigid. Len Wilson's crocked. I'm playing for the first team against City on Saturday because City are playing United already.
Yes.
Yeah.
So get straight in there.
So what's going to happen? So let's flick through the comic and get to Raw, and we get to Jimmy of City. So similarly, we have Jimmy there playing for Castleburn City reserves. And yeah, the coach is going, Jimmy's turning out to be our biggest find for years. He's a young wizard with the ball. The other coach goes, yes, but he's not being backed up. He'll end up in possession of the ball, but with no way of making use of it. But he wasn't the kind to throw away even the slenderest of chances. He manages to sneak the ball in from an acute angle. It's an incredible finish. And they're going, how on earth did he hit it from that angle? It looked impossible. So he's doing really well as well, Jimmy. And actually, his mum's watching, and his younger brother, Clive, who actually, I think, in the end, Clive actually ends up playing for United.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think he does. Yeah, I think he does. I don't know. I might have got it wrong. Might be City, but he didn't. Or gets a trial for them. But anyway, Clive's there, and he's going, Dad and Pat will be mad when they hear Pat was their sister. So they're the sister. Dad and Pat will be mad when they hear about the thrills they're missing out on. They could have been here instead of over at United watching Jack. But anyway, the game continues. Jimmy does really well, and he scores another goal as well. And the City manager he chuckles as Jimmy lets off steam by turning cartwheels. So he's a right character, is Jimmy. So they come off the pitch, and they see that somebody's driving a car in, and they're saying, "What's this?" And they go, "Oh, it's a new supporters club extension garaging on the ground floor. So there's some building work going on." And there's a restaurant above, and there's closed circuit television watching the away game. So there's some building, but in the car, somebody's delivering a car to Mike Duncan. Now, Mike Duncan is a first team striker. Oh. So Mike Duncan arrives to pick up his car, and he's a bit of a flash Harry. So he picks up his car, and he's like, the guy says, "I've been told to give you a demonstration run, Mike. This is a very powerful car. And 1 or 2 special features." And he's like, "Oh yeah, I don't need you to show me. I know how to tame this baby." He's driven a sports car before, as Mike.
Oh yeah.
So he jumps in it, and what happens? He starts it off, He should be pointing into reverse. He goes straight into building work. All scaffolding falls down on him. Guess what? Next frame, you see Jimmy bursting in. They're always eating. They're always eating the Chelsea family. They're always at the dinner table. And he goes, surprise, surprise, Mike Duncan has cracked a rib. Hooray! He's nearly died. He's really happy about that. I'm taking his place for City against United on Saturday. And Jack says snap, which I don't know, it's probably inappropriate. So he's just
not quite
a rib.
Snap,
Yeah. So that's and so that's when Jack says, I'm playing for United. So Jack is playing for City. Jack is playing for United and Jimmy is playing for City in the game. So we move on to the game. And this is it. First game of the season. And you've got the fans outside. City, United. And they both run out onto the pitch. Jack goes, best of luck, Jim. And Jimmy's like, don't wish me luck, Jack boy. You're the one who will need it. And you've got all the family there. You've got Pat, you've got Clive, you've got the mum and dad, all in their rosettes. Like everybody wore rosettes back in 1970, didn't they, at football?
Yeah. Couldn't go to football without one. You wouldn't have been allowed in.
Exactly. So immediately, Jim's through on goal, and and the crowd's going. He's going to put City into the lead, but who's there? Jack gets United out of trouble with a perfectly timed tackle, and the crowd go, well taken, Jack. That's the way to deal with them. Jack's clearance then sets up a United attack, and the crowd go, come on, United, let's have a goal. But as United's striker make ground, Jack follows up, and it's a chance for United. Bang it in. But the striker's thunderbolt hits the upright, and hard luck at United. That deserved the goal. But Jack's there. He's in position to meet the rebound. The keeper, Simmo, manages to get his fingertips to the lever. Chelsea's giving United another chance. Corner to United. So it's all United. The pressure there. Jim yells a warning, though, when he sees that the City defenders, they're anxious to protect the goal, but they're taking the eyes off of his brother. And so Jim's like saying, watch him. He's going for a short one. Jack snaps up the short pass and hits the ball on the turn. It's going in this time. What a shot. How did he find a way through those players? It's there. Jack grinned at his despairing brother. United are 1-up. Jack scored the goal. And in the crowd are going, this new lad, Jack Chelsea, is going to be a big star. So at half-time, it's 1-0 to United. Yes. And it's Pat's there and she's crying because she's a United fan as well with her dad. And she goes, who's the best team now then? United. And there's Clive going, there's still the second half. Wait till Jimmy gets going. So now Pat, yeah, it wasn't that Pat. She looks slightly different. Less earrings. So second half, we're now flick through and we go to Raw and Jimmy of City. So they come out for the second half. And Clive's up there, show him how to play now, Jimmy. And so they kick off, and Jimmy's on the ball now. And they can't get the ball off him. So he manages to pass the ball forward to the centre forward. And he's missed it. It's over the top.
No.
I tell you what, that's a bad miss. That looked like a clear-cut chance to me.
It was. I mean, Jimmy laid it on the plate. But anyway, he's quickly over the disappointment, and he's on the ball again. And the crowd are going, on your own, Jim. Don't pass it this time. So he's going through, and he's tackled. Oh no, it's a foul. Actually, it's a foul. So it's a free kick to City on the edge of the box. Jim's going to take it, and the keeper's there. Let me see the ball. Now, Jimmy, knowing that the United wall was blocking the keeper's view, tried to lob his shot high and wide, but Jack's head was in the way. Well stopped, Jack. Hard luck, Jimmy. Good try. Jack, with one eye on his brother, yelled an anxious warning, don't waste time, clear it. But it never paid to hesitate when Jimmy is around. Jimmy's onto it straight away, and he's through on goal. This time, Jimmy made no mistake. There's no mistake. It's a goal. The stadium almost exploded with excitement. Jimmy's equalised. Now let's have some more, City. But there was no further score, and the final whistle blew, and it's a draw. And the family are up in the box, and Pat's going, it's a draw. And the dad's, you couldn't have had a better result. And Clive's, what a match. And the mum there, she's going, proud as punch, she's going, look at Jack and Jim. You'd have thought it was a World Cup final. Just about as important to them and us. So that was it. That's your introduction to Jack of United and Jimmy of City. And yeah, I mean, just to kind of finish that off. So on the 8th of May 1971, Score and Roar becomes just Score. On the 3rd of July 1971, it actually merges with Scorcher. So that's when we have Scorcher and Score. The 25th of August 1973, Jack is transferred from United to City. So that's actually when Jack and Jimmy begins. That's the 25th of August 1973. And that's actually the same week, interestingly, that Hotshot Hamish begins in Scorcher and Score. And the last Scorcher and Score was the 5th of October 1974. Of course, when it merged with Tiger, and that's when Billy's Boots, Hotshot Hamish, and Nipper moved to Tiger and Scorcher, but no Jack and Jimmy. We never saw them again in the comic. But of course, as we know, they appeared in lots of other annuals over the years as well. You know, later 80s, I know they definitely appeared in Roy the Rovers annuals. They're quite common in there, so that's why it's quite when you think that the story was only going for probably 4 years, from 1970 to 1974. You know, it's stayed the test of time, really. So that's Jack and Jimmy.
I just on that, I found that really interesting. Couple of things there, Matt, that you mentioned, but of course you went right back to the back. The Castleburn City strip to me becomes quite famous. It's like a chevron strip, but it's interesting to see there. It's just all white.
Yeah.
But the reason I mentioned that, like you say, it's covered in annuals later. But if we move on, and you said that this story reminds you of the Marx Brothers, and of course of Barry Mitchell, the artwork. If you move to the Roy the Rovers edition, 9th of April 1983, Terry Marks is going through a bit of trouble. He's moved up from home and he's not looking after himself very well, and he's missing training. And Wally Turnbull's basically had enough of him, but of course he likes him as a player, but he loans him out, and Terry Marks goes on loan to Castleburn City. And what I find brilliant in that is he's in that famous the Castleburn City kit that I recognise from.
It does have the chevron.
The chevrons. Yeah. But just as you made that, I've always linked those two stories, although they're not. But knowing that Terry Marks actually does go on to play for Castleburn City, albeit on loan, has always fascinated me.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, that kind of crossover. I know it's just in IPC Fleetway, but it's great. Yeah.
You know what, I must say, I know we're heading up towards the 2 hour mark, and it's a little bit of a longer one. The last episode was a little bit shorter, so we're averaging out the times here. I've got to say, what an exceptional episode! Some fantastic sections from the three of you, and of course some good interventions from Tangent. But you know, we've covered We Are United.
Well.
Yeah. Most of them not so good, but you know.
Oh yeah, well,
it's better than me going on for 4 hours in a feature.
It's always better
guys.
than that.
Yeah.
But we've covered varying stuff, haven't we, tonight? We Are United, Jack and Jimmy, and of course Kline and Powell. A really good episode. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I've enjoyed every moment of it, and that includes Tangent as well. Well played. We should move on to the socials and the goodbyes, shouldn't we? So, who wants to go first with the socials?
I'll pick up the Facebook group, shall I?
Go on then.
So we've got the big one, the Roy the Rovers comic 40 years on, and in brackets Melchester Rovers. Of course, that's was founded by friend of the show Ed Taylor, and then friend of the show, and then we've also got the Champ We Are United and Football Picture Story monthly fans Facebook group, and of course there is Striker World, which is all things Nick Jarvis and of course Pete Nash, who we've been lucky enough to have on the show as well, and then the last twice, if not 3 times, and the last Facebook group is the Mighty World of British Comics, which obviously covers all British comics across all genres, not just football. But again, that's another fantastic Facebook group there. And that's the 4 Facebook group sites that we're all. I think we all play quite an active role in all of those.
Yeah. I'll take the old forum address if I may.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, champweareunited.proboards.com. As we always say, it's pretty much a reference site now because most of the interaction takes place on the socials. But there's a good 55,000 posts on there of the most amazing different amount of subjects you could imagine. I mean, you could pick an obscure comic, and we've probably had a conversation about it on there. It's such a great resource. You're more than welcome to join. But just remember that there isn't much interaction on there now. It's on the socials. So that's champweareunited.proboards.com. Anyone want to take X?
I'll do Twitter.
Go on then.
X, whatever it is. So we've got the mighty world of British comics at champ_r. That was messed up, wasn't it?
Do it again.
I was going to say that. I was like, what?
Do it in a Charlie voice.
Oh, what you need to know is.
I'm being possessed by him again. It's the mighty world of British comics at champ_r, and that's the X Twitter address.
It's not.
No, it's not. That's the point.
Where do you get mighty world of?
Yeah, where's the mighty world?
Oh, it isn't. Can we just cut this bit out?
No,
yeah.
Please
we've got a
keep
YouTube channel called Camp We Are United. God, I've completely messed this up. So we've got the YouTube channel, which is Champ We Are United UK Football Comics, and I'll just leave the Twitter to somebody else.
I will pay the rest of you to keep that in, please.
Yeah, staying in. Listen,
Ironically,
we will remain
Bygone
professional
just
right
told
up
us
to
where
the
to see the
100th
cock-up.
episode.
Do you know, right? I've got it on my
Simmo.
phone as well. I've wrote them all on my phone, and I still messed them all up. It's because
No,
I don't use X. But I've felt a little bit confident, and it's been shattered now. So.
Oh, bless him. Look at him. If you're watching on YouTube now, wipe away your tears, my friends. God, what an emotional moment. Oh, it's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong, isn't it?
Oh, God, a bit Pete Tong.
Nice bit of.
Right. I have no idea if you did actually finally get anything out.
If you don't watch it, Brinsden, I'll get the boys round to duff you up if you don't get that right next episode.
Listen, if I see you down the back alley once again, I'm going to see you right round the next week with my fists.
Sorry, when did this turn into a Guy Ritchie film?
I'm moving up to Bramington. I'm going to get away from you guys.
You want to watch? You're asking for a slap, you are.
Oh my God!
Oh, and all control has been lost.
I blame Gull losing control of everyone.
Exactly.
Right, do you know what? All shut up. Just whoever wants to do whatever Bygone Berrigan just messed up, just do it.
I think we've done it. I think we've done it. We're fine.
Oh,
if anybody wants to find out who they are, listen to another episode.
Yeah, that's true. Should we do the goodbyes?
Yep.
Right, good. I'm going to start whilst he's a bit low, just to cheer him up. First of all, it's a goodbye from Neil Bygone Berrigan.
It's catching.
Neil Bygone Berrigan.
Take care, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed tonight's show. Look forward to seeing you again in the next show.
Do you know what? You're all right, bugger. You messed it up now because I was going to do go on, start again. Do your normal voice. Bye from Bygone Berrigan.
Take care, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the show.
It's a bye from Grandad Berrigan.
Take care, everybody. I hope you've enjoyed the show.
His face actually changes into an old man.
He takes his teeth out. Doesn't he?
Oh, please stop. I need to sleep soon. Right, it's a goodbye from Paul Tangent Richardson.
Can you just indulge me for just 1 minute? I want to give out that number because I did a bit of a bygone earlier on. So for the WhatsApp, just to say, the number is 07923 359 212, and we now also have a Telegram account. And so if you search for Joe Roy _ Pearson Race, and that's the Telegram account if you want to send a note on there. And it's goodbye. I believe the correct terminology goal is from the tangential one.
Well, yeah, I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. So, no, it's goodbye from the tangential one.
Bye.
It's bye from Voice of Reason, excellent section, Simmo.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Great episode.
Very enjoyable. Yes, definitely. And it's a goodbye also from the man, the legend, mute button Matt Richards.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Goal. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. And just a reminder, the name of that pigeon is Speckled Jim. So if you can send in your messages.
See the cousin of Speckled Hen?
Send in your messages via pigeon for the 100th show.
Is the pigeon murdering bastard in the court? Anyway, yeah,
I knew I'd set you off. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that.
No, I know. I do have formal Blackadder impressions, but we haven't got time. So yeah, it's goodbye from Matt. Did you say bye? Oh, you did, yes. And it's a goodbye from me. Thank you. Oh, girl, hello. So yeah, thank you for listening. It's been a joy tonight, a good laugh. I hope you've enjoyed listening. Join us next time for what is unbelievably episode 99.
99. It's getting close, folks. It's getting close.
Yeah. You're just resting before the peak of episode 100, aren't you? Thank you very much.
I can almost touch it.
Well, what you want to do in your own time, mate.
Less said about that, the better.
Let's finish the podcast first.
Although I'm impressed if you've got to reach out that far for it. I mean, that is good story.
Once again, you might want to look at YouTube for that last minute because, well, go back a little bit further and watch Bygone Berrigan absolutely die. Well, not literally. Thank you for listening. We'll see you at episode 99. Have a good fortnight. Take care. And hiya. We're all waving.
See ya.
Bye.
See ya. Good night.
Bye.
I wish they'd...